called, you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I want to be where you are. I called, you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I want to be where you are. My whole life I place in your hands, God of mercy, humbled I bow down in your presence at your throne. I call, you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I want to be where you are. I called, you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I want to be where you are. My life be lifted high in our world, be lifted high in our love, be lifted high. My life be lifted high in our world, be lifted high in our love, be lifted high. I called, you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I want to be where you are. 'Cause I called, you answered, and you came to my rescue, and I want to be where you are. You may be seated. Let's do this. Let's, after that moment, let's get into just seeing a little bit about your camp, where your camp is. How many of you have been to Bluewater Covenant Bible Camp? Okay. Often, a lot. Great. So let's check out what it does look like when it's not frozen, and it still is frozen, to be honest, and check out what some of the summer pictures and things look like this past year.
You want the video?
Yeah, the video. Yes. I thought I was giving you enough time to set that up. I didn't. I'll go even longer.
Oh, nope, I got the wrong one. Hold on.
That's all right. In the meantime, because, again, we shouldn't have dead time, we'll give out some chocolate. Oh, there we go. Now you got to watch the video.
At camp, I feel blessed, honestly. I know that sounds cliche, but it's just the best chance you can get in life to learn more about God and get a better relationship with Him.
One thing I learned about God this week is even when it gets hard and you're struggling, God never gives up on you and He always loves you.
At camp, I feel loved, I feel safe, and you feel welcomed by everybody. You feel welcomed by the staff, people around you, like everybody just wants you to feel at home.
I love the stories of camp and what camp does to just bring about God working in the lives of kids. And maybe that's your story too, is that you found Jesus at a camp or had camp transform your life. And I just appreciate what God can do in those moments. I mean, from the funny stories, right? From the funny stories of this, I'm watching this kid come through the line at the mealtime, and he sits down and he eats, but then he's kind of doing this as he's eating, and he's doing this, and so then he leaves, he goes and puts his dishes away, he leaves, goes out the door, and then all of a sudden comes back into this pan of tater tots, and he grabs some more, and he does this. And what he's doing is he's putting tots in his pocket for later. Tots in his pocket for later. It was just hilarious. Or there was another boy that had come to our canteen window, and canteen is like this place where you get all the good candy stuff, the sweet stuff, and he's outside though. He's not in line for canteen. Instead, he's outside selling off his own candy. His mom had sent him all these treats, and he's selling them. Rice Krispie bars. I got a Rice Krispie bar for $1. This entrepreneur, I just love it. He's like, he's making money. And then he goes into the camp store after he made some money. He goes into the camp store and buys a T-shirt. I love that. Fun stuff like that. I love the ideas that like there's a kid that he's like, this is the best tube ride in my life. You know, he's just yelling it out as he's going on the tube. There's so many things of the adventure of camp. The adventure that it brings into life. And camp is a spot where that experience happens and an atmosphere happens where you are engaged in all these other activities while also getting the message of Jesus while you're doing it. And it just like comes together in this place called Bluewater. And it's your camp. And it's your camp that you own. This church owns this camp. And so grateful to be in partnership together. I've been there now 20 years. 20 years. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but it has been that long. And it's just fun to see kids now that have gone through, that have become staff, and now are all of a sudden sending campers too. Like last year, Chesney, it's Jenny Susteds and Johnson now, Jenny Johnson. Chesney Johnson was on staff with me. I mean, it's just so much of a circle piece here and connectedness. God does great things at camp. Great things also take life stories. We had a camper that came in and he was writing things on his arm. Just writing things and symbols and different things. And our counselor got with him on the first day and it was like, what are you doing there? Why are you writing these on your arm? And the guy said, well, my older brother is teaching me the occult. And these are signs of the occult. And signs of what the devil would want me to do. And signs that would want how he's doing things in my life. And our counselor's like, okay, all right. So he just started praying about how to connect in the Jesus story with this young man. And it wasn't the first day, but it was throughout the week. Small conversations about the idea that light overpowers darkness all the time. There's not 1 minute that light gets overpowered by darkness, right? A light turns on in a room. There's not a minute that the darkness overcomes that light. And that was our theme. Like, light enters this world and enters in for mankind, and it can overcome. It can change, it can transform, can make you new, as our theme this year is. But that spoke to this guy. And throughout the week, he just started seeing that there was a difference in the people he was around. And in the conversation with this counselor, came to make a decision for Jesus. Came then to ask for some peroxide, some alcohol, because he wanted to remove the symbols from his arm. Now, here's a cool story. That right there is a good story. He gave his life to Jesus. That's a great story. The better part of the story was that he went home and he got connected in Roseau and he got connected with people, and it came 3-4 months later, we're having our annual meeting, and the youth pastor says that boy is still coming. That boy is still making decisions to follow Jesus. That boy is still having God work within his life. That's it. That is why we own this facility. That's why we have this place called Bluewater Covenant Bible Camp, to see a moment like that, where transformation comes in, and you get this moment where God enters in and says, I'm grabbing your life. I'm gripping it, and I'm not going to let go. Even though there's a lot of forces, a lot of things that are saying, no, run away from this God stuff. Run away from Jesus. No, I'm going to hold on to you. I am not leaving you. I am keeping you here. So here's what I want you to do. If you haven't been to Bluewater, or maybe you have, grab a brochure. And actually, the brochure the biggest thing about here is this little QR code down here. QR code, take your phone, put it on it. It'll open up to our website. Open it up so that you can just online register right away. Now, you can also, this is called paper for you younger generations. Okay, it's called paper. And you can tear this off and you can send it in too. And save your mom and dad some money by sending it in by paper, but register. And then what I want you to do too is take it to a friend. Take it to a person that's a locker next to you. Take it to a teammate. Take it to a person you don't even like, right? Because they need Jesus, right? You need to take it to them and give it to them and say, hey, come to this place where it's a lot of fun, there's a lot of adventure, there's a lot of good things, but we're also going to meet this person named Jesus and see what he's done in my life and can transform something in your life. So do that. I encourage kids to come to camp, help them to get there by helping with transportation, helping to get kids to the place. I know the church, and we have ways of even at camp, if there's scholarships that are needed to help get kids to camp, we will get kids to camp because we just really believe that God works at this place. One pastor said that Bluewater is set aside for moments, for God moments, just those moments that he enters into that. Another person, I don't know who said this, but take a year long of Sunday school. And all that you do within those hours of days of Sunday school, once a week, more can happen in that week of camp because of that intense, that moment of breaking down that idea of being in God's nature, of listening to God's voice. More can happen in that moment than a whole year of Sunday school. Not to put down what Sunday school teachers are doing, but there's an intensity that can come in that moment with camp. So testimonies of what God does. Testimonies of God drawing people into ministry at camp. There was a boy that I was watching as I was speaking, and he was in the back row, and he's sitting back leaning. And it's just he's disengaged. He'd rather be out swimming. He'd rather be out doing anything besides in the chapel listening to me speak. Okay, and he's sitting back there, and I'm trying to connect in with him and not really connecting. But throughout it, all of a sudden, his life kind of just takes these moments and changes and different steps in his life. He's now the pastor at Lancaster Covenant, Mitch Hobby. And so there's again, his calling started at Bluewater, and now he's this pastor, this guy that's disengaged into ministry. The Johnsons, I think, were a part of Bluewater when they were in Warren. There's so many connections to being called into missions, into the pastoring, into different areas of ministry that are going. So Bluewater just has that opportunity to be that. So again, get people to camp. And now, you may be saying, I'm too old to be at camp. You're not. You're not. That's the good news. Camp is for the young at heart, those that want to come down from the farm, from the times of being up here in kind of windy land, I would say up here. Get down to where it's sheltered a little bit. Now, your sunsets are the best. You guys have great sunsets, but man, something being by the lake also is just so good. So, women's retreat. Tiffany Edwards, she was formerly in Thief River Falls. She's going to be our speaker. Women's retreat, we want you to come and just really enjoy the moments at camp. Just enjoy the conversations, enjoy the meals. We do a great job putting on some good food, and just, you don't have to clean. I mean, that's the good thing about it, okay? Men's retreat. We've got Hunter Patnud coming. He races snowcross. He's coming in to be our speaker. Hunter Patnud is a good guy, works with FCA, Fellowships of Christian Athletes, on the snowcross circuit. So he's coming in and speaking. Now, we have good food too. We do like a fish fry at men's retreat, but we also build things because it's a men's and boys retreat. So we do things like building marshmallow guns or sailboats or Trebidos to try to throw things into the lake. Different things. We axe throwing contest, fence post pounding contest. I mean, just different things there with the guys. Come on out for men's and boys retreat. Come be a part of that. Or maybe you're thinking that we need to go for a vacation. We need to get away. Our family camp. We're just getting full, but our family camp. Come on down. Experience Bluewater as a family. Take it in as grandparents. Bring your grandkids along and come to Bluewater. Have that moment. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't know. Here's what we'll do. We'll have lifeguards for you. We'll have a boat for you to ski behind, tube behind. We'll have all the sand to build sand castles and rock wall climb. And then your kids and grandkids will get to know camp. And then when they come, they'll already be recognized and know where things are at and be able to just go, hey, this is my place because my parents were here, my grandparents were here with me. We think that it's still very affordable, versus going to Valley Fair, going to State Fair, going to Disney World. I think we're still very affordable in that because, again, you don't have to cook and clean. We'll do that for you. We'll take care of that for you, which is always a treat on it. I mean, and we make some good food for you. Get a speaker to listen to. We'll take your kids for chapel and do their own chapel. So coming down for family camp, it's a good place. And just to have that meshing together, again, of families. As far coming back to registrations, we are getting full on the family camp registration, except for our August family camp is pretty open. Around the 4th, it's very full. But we do have some rooms on either weekend around the 4th. So you can definitely register in that. Our youth registrations. Last year, we had 1,100 youth campers. 1,100. Now, we budget for 950. That's where we budget for. 2 years ago, we had over 1,000 for the first time. And last year, 1,100. I mean, it's just amazing how many campers are coming through our gates. We have already 700 registered. That's about 100 and 150 more than last year. A couple of our camps are creeping up to being, to not capacity, but getting fuller, especially our Trailblazer B camp. So get registrations in early as possible. We'll try to find room for you. Anyone have any questions? Keep it relaxed. I'll take any questions on that. About how to register, how to get there. Okay, no questions? All right, then you need more free stuff. That's what I'm going to say, more free stuff. Here you go. In the back. I don't think that's going to fit. I apologize on that. I never said I'm a department store, but coming in, oh, nice. That went right to you. Yes, that was a good arm. All right, so free stuff is good. I got another one. There we go. So here's what we want to also say. Camp is a place, again, that is yours. And so there's always different things that are going on. There's always buildings that kind of keep going, and there's things that have upkeep. And we do a good job of seeing people come down and help out in that way. We're right now, ready to build a cook's cabin, speaker's cabin. We have monies for it. We're getting ready to go on that one. And so that's exciting to get kind of a new cook's, speaker's cabin in that also can be used year-round because our fall and winter retreats are getting bigger and they're expanding. And so that's going to be helpful for that. It will also help provide our current speaker's cabin will become a youth cabin. So it'll kind of give more space for our youth camps also. The bigger thing that is kind of down the road, 2, 3, 4 year vision that's happening is a vision for a chapel, a ground level chapel. Kind of going to a spot, if you want to go up to sharing that, building a ground level chapel is kind of that next avenue and next building and big kind of project that we have in mind. Now, a couple of different reasons behind that we'll go to. I want to show you, though, the next slide is going to show you a little bit of what our picture or the current chapel looks like. You can go back one. It was built in 1976, if anyone remembers that age. Okay, Ardell, you got that year? 1976? Remember that? Remember Don Goodrich?
Yes.
Right? Don Goodrich. He was a spearhead in that movement to build a memorial chapel. And he had a vision for a building that would be safe for storms. And it is priceless. It was a great building. It's a concrete cast floor built into a hill. It has helped us so much when inclement weather comes, strong winds come. And so in 1976, though it was built with maybe camps were maybe about 25 campers at the time, a little bit less, and now we've grown. So our need has grown up on it. So go back to the picture, Harriet, of the chapel itself. Can you go back?
Forward or back?
Backwards. There we go. Right then, go forward one. Right there. So the current chapel has a decent amount of stairs to get to the top. And so that is one of the things that we're looking to say is that we need something that's going to be ground level. And so that need is, especially as we see elderly come for family reunions, weddings, family camp, women's and men's retreat. The elderly traversing that stairway there is just difficult. If we want to have disabled kids come, we have to bring them to a ramp on the back of the chapel, and that's just inconvenient and not conducive for having kids with disabilities come. Even like a broken leg, it's very, very difficult in that way. So go ahead, Harry, to the next one. What we're saying is that, again, the ground level is going to help us within our spacing. Our camps have grown to 160 max, and it's like an inferno. You come up to the chapel and you feel the heat coming out of the doorway. You just feel it radiating out as 160 kids are dancing to Days of Elijah inside there. Okay, the heat is just emanating out of it. We want it to be ground level, again, because of for people to enter. Go ahead to the next one, Harriet. We also have larger retreats in the fall and the winter, and so space for them, kind of a multi-purpose space for activities, for growth again on those. We had a winter or a fall retreat this year that was 140 campers, 140 retreaters. There was 7 different covenant churches that came together, one retreat in the fall for us, and it was just so many. We need just more activity space, kind of a larger area. The large indoor events, we have weddings, we have some concerts that happen, so a space to hold those events just in case there's inclement weather outside also. So what we're praying and looking for in these next years, we're praying for what is the location going to be, what's the size going to be, what are some of the possibilities of how it's built and like the programming options inside of it. We're not wanting a gymnasium, but we're wanting something that has the ability to do some activities for our campers, for our retreaters in it. So what does that look like? Is it going to be like in the center of camp, looking right by the lake where Cabin 8 is, where the old chapel is? Is it going to be tucked into a hill behind the dining hall and kitchen? Is it going to be next to the current chapel and attached to it in some way? So those are all things that we're looking for. And, our location. Go ahead. So just, you can flip through that. I mean, there's different options that we're looking at as to where it goes and we're praying about. And here's the deal. We're in the process of discerning. We're in the process of asking the Holy Spirit, asking God to lead us and guide us in this. We don't have the answers yet. We have a committee that's discussing, that's coming up with ideas about this, but nothing is set. And so, again, we're 3 to 4 years out in this pursuit of it. Now, always the questions become, okay, well, how much does it cost? Where are we at with fundraising? We already have a $30,000 gift that was given through a memorial for it. We had raised $100,000 last year through a matching gift of $50,000. By the end of the year, we matched that, so we have over $100,000. We have a $12,000 matching gift right now that's going on till July 4th in our Family Camp A. So a $12,000 matching gift. If you want to give towards that, you can go online and at our website, there's a spot where you can put in that matching gift in the chapel, or you could send a check to us and we'll make sure that it goes to that account. So again, we're in like 2 to 3 years of fundraising for this as we develop the plans, as we develop what is going on. And I appreciate that because we took 2 to 3 years to develop our kitchen plans and our dining hall plans, and that building is the Taj Mahals of camp kitchens. I know we're not supposed to talk about casinos very much, but Taj Mahal, and that's not from me, that's the state inspector coming in, and he says, man, this is a beautiful camp kitchen. Usually they try to crimp corners, cut down space. It is beautiful, and it took time as we went over those plans and we thought about those plans. And so we have these years to discuss what does the size look like, what does the chapel look like for the next ministry, what does it look like in how God is going to be working at camp in the next years. So again, I don't have any real pictures to say, hey, here's what it's going to look like or anything along that lines, but I do have the idea that this is the next process for us, the next project for us as we look forward to what next steps in our future as a camp. So we'd hope that you'd pray about partnering with us, praying about being a partner of whether it's matching gift, whether it's praying, or maybe you want to be on the board with Harriet at some point, come on our board and be a part of those decision makings, however that might be. We just love to, again, partner in this with it. Any questions off of that? Let me do that. Any questions there? Nice. You guys are so easy. You know what, Pastor Clark, you must not ask many questions during your sermon, huh? No. Yeah, okay. I feel that, yeah. Okay, so that's good. No questions is good too. But if there are questions, please feel free. Because again, this is your church's camp. This is your place. This is your facility. What I would like to do is I'd like to take you now to John chapter 21. I'm just going to do I'm not speaking till supper time. I don't think we want that. I know you don't want that. But we have a meal for lunch, right? It's not supper. It's a lunch. Okay. It's a lunch. Okay. It's not a supper, so it's lunch. So I'll have to wrap up before that. But let me take us back to the reason again why we have something like this place. John chapter 21. John is one of my favorite books, and the Gospels give a real depiction of Jesus, and Luke describes it pretty intricately as a doctor. He describes what he went through the last week and the resurrection. And John, though, has this real writing of giving like, man, this is God. He's not just a man, he is God. And so in that writing, I just really appreciate John's perspective and John, how he just comes to kind of make it real for us. And in chapter 20, it seems like John writes and gets done with his book. He says this, the last verse of chapter 20. These things are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. Seems like a perfect wrap-up to his book. Seems like this perfect wrap-up to what he's been describing Jesus as. And creating this whole message that this isn't just some guy. This isn't the guy you knew who made your table. This isn't the guy who you knew who went to school with your kids. This isn't just the guy who changed water into wine. It's this man that has, he is God. It's not just a man and God. He's fully man, fully God. And John takes us to that. And what I appreciate about chapter 21 is that John seems to give like this epilogue. He kind of gives this next little bit of the movie. He gives the next part of the story. It's kind of like if you were any fans of the Avengers had these movies, and the Marvel had movies, and then like you'd watch credits for a long time, and then somewhere down at the end of the credits, all of a sudden there would be a little movie, another section of the movie that would take you on to the next part of the story. It would like lead you into what's coming next. Well, John kind of seems to do this. He leaves us with Peter, who had been at that moment of saying, do you believe, weren't you a follower of Jesus? And Peter says, no. And then another person coming up to Peter and saying, weren't you a follower of him? I remember you following after Jesus. And Peter says, no. And then a third time, Peter, aren't you one of those guys? Aren't you one of his guys? And Peter's saying, no, that was not me. And then the rooster crows, right? And that's kind of where we leave Peter and how we had a sense of who Peter was. But John's so good in writing a little bit more of Peter's story. He comes back, and I think this is my story a lot. And maybe it's your story, and I know it's a lot of our campers' stories. Coming to camp and like seeing maybe or hearing about where they failed, and maybe knowing that, man, I messed up. I had a chance. I had this opportunity. I had this moment. I was in at the cafe and I could have said something about Jesus. I was in this moment in this conversation with a person on the phone. I could have said something and I didn't. I could have just spoke about what Jesus has meant in my life and I didn't. I didn't testify. I didn't witness. I didn't say it. And maybe just like feeling down on himself. Peter does what he does maybe best, maybe the most. He just goes back to what he knows he's good at, which is fishing. It's kind of where John picks it up and he says, man, my friend Peter, he's out fishing, and Jesus comes back to him. And he takes him through and he says in this moment, let me catch it with you on this. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, and the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered. Well, throw out your net on the other side of the boat, and you will find some. Now, I am not a fisherman. But if it's that easy that you just throw it out on the other side, you throw your line on the other side, I think we'd all be good fishermen at that point. And Jesus comes in and he says this to him to kind of give like this moment of now understanding of who's in front of them. Because when it happens, they meet Jesus again by a great haul of fish. This miraculous moment happens within their catching fish. When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. So they had been fishing, they had gone out, they knew what they were doing, but they weren't catching fish. They throw it on the other side of the net, and all of a sudden, fish are in the net, and they can't haul it in. It's this moment of the miraculous, of this practicalness, this thing that is every day to them, this moment of just like, I know this, but Jesus comes in and speaks, and all of a sudden the miraculous happens. And Peter catches it. Because there was a moment in Luke chapter 5 that Luke gives us the story of the same thing happened. The same thing happened to him. He's in Luke chapter 5. Peter comes and has Jesus and they're out fishing and he says the same thing, throw it on the other side of the net, bang, fish in their net. Now, John goes on to describe this. The disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." And as soon as Simon Peter, so the disciple who Jesus loved, and again, I love this about John because he writes, because it's kind of like he's the one. He's the one that Jesus loved the most. So he's kind of like giving this little barb. You know, the disciple who Jesus loved the most. Oh, yeah, that was me. By the way, that was me. But as soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around, and so it didn't fall off, and he jumped into the water. And the disciples followed him with the boat. Now, Peter just jumps and he goes. And we have this description of just like Peter just going, bang, it's the Lord. It's the Messiah. I'm going to him. I'm jumping out of this boat in the water. I'm going to go to him. I'm not even going to take off my clothes. I'm not going to get down into my swimsuit. I'm going to just go to him. I'm just going to run to him, swim to him. It's like, man, I hear that it's Lord, I'm going. Remember, Peter's been dealing with some things. He's been dealing with like this idea that he failed Jesus. And now he's running to him. He knows that he has sinned in that moment. And he's running to him. Well, let me take you to Luke chapter 5, verse 8. This is that other response that Peter had. When they were out fishing, they hadn't caught fish again. Luke chapter 5, verse 8 says this. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell on his knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord. I'm a sinful man. Go away from me." Peter knew his sinfulness, and he knew then that because of that act that had happened, the miraculous act of fish coming in at the word and the speaking of Jesus, that he couldn't be near God. He couldn't be with God. He needed to be away. What's the difference? What's the difference? The difference is the cross. Peter had seen Jesus die on the cross a week ago. We recognize that. We knew about it. We looked through the story and we said the pain of the cross for my sins, for what I have done. But then also Peter knew something else. He wasn't just about the cross. It was about the empty tomb and the resurrection, which we celebrated a week ago, knowing that Jesus is alive. Jesus is alive again. He's calling us to them. And Peter doesn't go, "Oh, get away from me, Lord." Peter now has seen Jesus alive after seeing him die, and he runs to him. He goes to him. He jumps off the boat. He goes into the water, and he swims to him. Man, isn't that what I need, what you need, is to go to him. In that moment when we feel like we failed, and we've just been the worst. Just to go to him because he's alive. He's taken all of it on the cross. He's paid for it, but he's alive. He's alive for us. I think that's the message of camp. It's really the message of camp that, man, you don't have it all together. It's okay. Jesus is alive. He's alive and he's given you this life, this resurrection power to live life. Peter, I'm going to build my church upon you. Yeah, you screwed up. It's okay. I'm going to build my church upon you. And the things you see Peter do, the speaking, sees people coming to know Jesus because of Peter's words. Gets this like restoration, this moment of stating, hey, you're back in the game. You're not on the bench anymore, Peter. Yeah, you threw the ball away. It's okay. You're back in the game for me. I need you, Peter. I need you. And that's what he's saying to you. He's what he's saying to me in this moment. So I just want to take us to that moment after the resurrection, that John gives us a look at Peter and just being able to recognize that, man, Peter's just the one that Jesus is calling, and he just runs to Jesus. He just jumps in. We don't have to be afraid to come to Jesus anymore. He's still our Lord. He's still our Savior. He's still Judge. He's all that. But we don't have to be afraid anymore. We can come to him. Let me pray. God, we thank you again for your word that brings to life again, real life for us. So that as we walk from this building, as we've heard your word, read it, as we've sung to you, given praises to you, God, as we come to you praying that you would lift us up for these next hours, these next days. God, the conversations that we're going to have with teachers, with our employees, with people in the town, within the communities around us, God, that you would be directing us, that you would be guiding us in it. God, help me, help this church to have an impact upon this world. As Pastor Clark said, this world needs you. This world is moving in a way that isn't following you. God, we shouldn't be surprised, but we still want to be engaging people with you. We want to be a light into that darkness. We want to say they can come to you, be made new, that they don't have to live in their own sinful ways, but that they can be made new, Jesus. So help us, be with us, encourage us, be our strength, be our courage, be all that we need you to be in our life. We pray this in your name. Amen. All right, I think we're going to sing one last song, so if you would want to stand with me. Blessed be your name in the land that is plentiful, where your streams of abundance flow. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name when I'm found in the desert place, though I walk through the wilderness. Blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be your name when the sun's shining down on me, when the world's all as it should be. Blessed be your name. Blessed be your name on the road marked with suffering, though there's pain in the offering. Blessed be your name. Every blessing you pour out, I'll turn back to praise. When the darkness closes in, Lord, still I will say, blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. You give and take away. You give and take away. My heart will choose to say, Lord, blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your name. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be your glorious name.
Well, thank you, Chad, for being with us today. I don't have a question for you, but I would like to make a comment. I was one of the first campers down at Bluewater because I remember what the camp was like in Warren. And that big building was every year supplied with fresh wood shavings on the floor. That was quite unique. And but yeah, it was a great blessing to move the camp down to Bluewater.
So do you remember the horses then? Horses down?
Yes, I do. That's right. But I was going to mention, I love canoeing and always did, and they had canoe races, and they taught us how to canoe at Bluewater. And so Terry and I were in a canoe together, and we're in this race, and I think we won. I think we did. And so, that was one part of it I really liked the best was the canoeing. So, yeah, it's a good experience. So.
You never got a trophy. Here you go. Good job.
I'm sure we didn't get a trophy. Oh, yes. Well, now what we're going to do is, thank you, we're going to do a benediction, and then I'll say a prayer for the meal, and you're all invited downstairs, and ask Chad some questions you might think of in the meantime. So, all right, and our benediction is on the screen up there from 1 Corinthians, at Resurrection chapter 1 Corinthians 15. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, and knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain. What a promise to us. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity we've had to think about Bluewater and the ministry, tremendous ministry that it has, and the growing number of young people that are going there, and that's just great to hear. So now as we go downstairs and share a meal together, we ask your blessing upon it. We thank you for providing it. Thank you for those who have worked hard to get it ready. So we'll carefully give you the honor and the praise as always. In your name, amen.